Good evening. It's Kimber Booth here, your strategic pharmacy coach and consultant. I'm happy to be joining you this evening for our Connector Dots. Wednesday Wisdom is all about personal development is the plan topic. And today I'm going to talk about professional development plans. So this is all about mapping your destiny and setting that course and you living a purpose-driven life through how you develop yourself. And we'll talk both about personal and professional development here. I'm just making sure I'm alive to chat with you all. So when I talk about it, mapping your destiny, when we talk about the purpose of both a personal and professional development plan, it's to help you reach both your personal and your career goals. And if you think about it, your goals are the destination and the plan is your map. So keeping in mind with any destination, there's not just one way to get there. It's not a straight line. There could be multiple routes in various directions to get to your goals of your career and your personal life. So I bring this up. I actually had the great opportunity yesterday. My friend Scott Kjelson down at Nova Southeastern invited me to talk to one of his classes as a professional and leadership class for our future pharmacists from Nova. And the topic, of course, was on career planning. And Scott did some great education and talked about one of my favorite books, The One Thing, how to have extraordinary results for your life. And that book, it definitely talks about, being purpose-driven, prioritizing, making sure you're doing the most important things. But planning is an important part of it. So I had a chance within that conversation to share how important I do think that development planning, personal development are for your life and for your career. It is definitely a lifelong process when it comes to your professional development, but you need to take ownership. We want to make sure that we are, charting this course and running the ship ourselves where we want it to go. We can't depend on somebody else. And I did share with them as a hiring manager of many people throughout the years, professionals, both pharmacists and other professionals. I've hired physicians and nurses in various roles that I've been in. And now I also continue even in my consulting to help hire through the work that I've done because, of course, many of you know my goal is to expand the number of pharmacy team members by advocating for more resources. So through that, recruiting is a big thing. And one of my favorite questions that I do like to ask somebody when they're interviewing for a job is, what have you done to prepare for this role? We know that you're not always going to be ready for that role. You won't have maybe done that exact experience before, but there are ways that you can continue to develop yourself. So if you are applying for a job with me and you can answer the question, I did, X, Y, Z to prepare for this role, well, that is much stronger than somebody who hasn't done anything to develop themselves. So you want to have a plan for the potential roles that you want to do in the future. So what we're going to go over here in the rest of this Connector Dot session is talking about what are the steps for a professional development plan. In pharmacy, it is definitely known as a continuous professional development plan because of how it's been tied in through our continuing education process. But I want you to think bigger here. This is where we in healthcare need to think beyond our current role. We need to really understand the bigger picture of healthcare and think bolder about what we need to know, and not just in our little defined areas of whatever role we are currently in. To really understand the big picture. So we'll go through, again, I don't like to keep you longer than about 15 minutes on these sessions at the end of the day to connect with you and allow you time to get on and get home at the end of the day. But thank you for joining me either live or in person. So when I think about professional development plans, it's mainly 5 steps that I consider that you need to accomplish. And I have a tool actually that I linked into the notes that you can go on my website, kimberbooth.com, slash PDP to get access to download a simple template that you can use if you don't have a professional development plan. It's been often that I've asked groups of professionals and in a room that I'm speaking to, do you have a professional development plan? And unfortunately, a small number of hands will go up. And even then, when I say, have you updated it in the last quarter, more hands go down. So would encourage you to do this and update it at least quarterly. And we'll talk about that as one of the most important steps. So first step with any plan is self-assessment. So you want to understand, more about yourself and both your strengths and your areas for development. And then, of course, what are your goals? We're going to talk both about your short-term goals and long-term goals. So how do you do your self-assessment? Well, you can definitely do self-reflection of yourself. I also definitely recommend, if you can, get a 360 evaluation, input from peers, colleagues, people above you, people below you. If you have a formal process for that, or even an informal process to get that feedback, is invaluable. And then you can do competency assessments. One that I like to use is the American Council of Healthcare Executives, or ACHE, competency tools. And there are definitely, others that you can access, but I like that one for healthcare leaders. I think it's very valuable. And then I definitely like people to do the Discover Your Strengths Finder 2.0. And the reason I like people to do this is so often we focus too much on just the negative things or the things that we're not good at. But what that book talks about is, developing your strengths and making it a superpower can be more powerful than getting your weaknesses up to here. If you get your superpower even higher, that can be very beneficial for many people. So after you have that basic self-assessment, you do want to think about what your goals and your objectives are. So what are your career goals, both short, midterm, and long-term? Yes, I'm going to challenge you to think long-term. Now, again, I said this is, you'll have destinations. Your destination can change as you're traveling through this journey of your career and your life. What your priorities are may change, but try to think farther out. It'll help you plan for steps that you need to take to get there. And think bold about that 10-year goal of where you might want to be, what you might want to be doing. It may not be, I'm not just talking about being like an executive. It could be that you want to be financially independent, or you want to be traveling. You want a job that you can be flexible with your family. You want to work part-time in a certain number of years. All of those things can definitely be on the plate that you can think of. So the next step, number 3, that's part of the planning process and the continuous professional development process, is to create your action plan. So your development action plan, you want to take your self-assessment and your short and long-term goals, and you identify, I recommend 3 things that you're going to focus on. So you can't work on everything, and you want to kind of prioritize 3 things for the next year. What are you going to work on? What specific competency do you want to improve that you either, again, was something you want to continue to develop, or it's already a strength that you just want to make even stronger? So once you do that, you're going to think then, okay, so that's a competency I want to build. How am I going to develop myself in that area? So then you're going to choose what are those type of activities that you want to do to develop yourself for that skill. So for example, I remember supporting one of my staff members who we identified financial management was one of her goals to build acumen in. And for her, that meant we did, set her up with some kind of networking, mentoring with with a controller. She took some courses, and then she also had some like on-the-job training or development where she took more responsibility for budgeting and finance as part of her development. And that's what I do want to talk to you about in terms of what is that right mix of development. People automatically kind of go to courses, and I'm definitely a big fan of courses. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, you may know I've created my own program called Pharmovation, so I'm a big fan of that. But what I've tried to do with my program is incorporate some other methods of learning, adult learning principles, where you get experience actually doing the work and networking and learning from others. So it's kind of an integrated learning. And so when it comes to learning, there's kind of this 70-20-10 rule or 60-30-10 rule, depends what reference you look at. But what they say is your best learning comes from on the job or experience. That's the 70%. So making sure you can get that exposure within your own job, or seeking ways that you can volunteer for projects and or experiences in other departments to grow your experience. That is the key. This is really on the job, or learning by doing is what it's sometimes called. The next kind of 20% comes more from where you're learning from others. Sometimes this is called near the job, or like exposure development. So this 20% definitely is, mentoring, coaching, getting feedback. This could be shadowing people, where that topic definitely came up when we were talking to the students yesterday, because I love shadowing. I think it's great. It's great to sit down and talk to somebody. But what better way can you get some exposure, again, is by shadowing somebody and seeing what they're doing. It's not quite the same as experience where you'd actually be doing it yourself. You're still just kind of shadowing somebody. So that's why it's in this bucket. And then the last 10% is education. It's considered like off the job, tends to be more formal training. But these days that could be, online classes, could be even professional degrees. So again, once you have that plan, you're going to identify those activities that will support those 3 goals. And you don't have to do a ton for everything. I do usually, for a topic, for example, this year, one of my professional development goals was to expand my coaching skills. And I have done that through taking an online coaching program, as well as getting mentoring and shadowing some other coaches to see their methods through the program. So it was a comprehensive program where I'm getting the education and I'm getting some of these other skills, methods of learning at the same time. So that for me was one of my goals, and I was able to get kind of all 3 types of experiences this year. So I'm happy that is on track for me to finish this year. And just so you know, I tend to do this as part of my annual plan at the end of the year. So in December, I take that time at the holidays to do my annual plan, which includes looking at my whole life of both my career, which this definitely feeds a lot into, my personal life, my family and friends, and my community plan. So I plan my year in those 4 quadrants, as well as, future years, because I have long-term goals. Now, you're not done yet with your plan. You have the plan. Now you've identified for your 3 development priorities, what are some of those activities you're going to do. The next step is really important, and you want to communicate it and discuss it. I'm sure you realize that having some accountability with somebody else is important. So if you've shared this with somebody, talk to somebody, you're more likely to do it and stick to it. And if you can truly have an accountability partner who's going to check in with you, or you're going to check in and hold each other accountable, again, maybe on a monthly or quarterly basis, to see, hey, how are you doing with your plan? That can be very positive. That could be a mentor or a coach, which is already could be part of your plan. And I actually do recommend that everybody has a mentor. So please make that part of your plan. If you don't already have a mentor, maybe even consider a few mentors. So you want to share that with somebody. You could share it with your spouse, friend, again, mentor or coach, or even potentially you could share it even with somebody in your human resources department, might be a potential. And then the last real step that I think of is executing on it, right? So execution, final step of the process, you want to execute on your professional development plan. So you want to take those activities that you identified, put them on your calendar. What is the due date? I knew what time frame I was going to take my coaching courses and when I was going to get that other exposure. Then, you do want to continue to evaluate that throughout the year and look at that at least quarterly, like I said, sometimes monthly. And then you want to apply it and then check back in and see if you've been able to apply what you learned. So those are the steps of a professional development plan where you can include both your personal goals and your professional goals. I know I've talked here a lot about professional, and maybe that's a problem of mine, but this could be something where you want to do something personally. You might want to learn, a skill, that's fun. Like I did learn how to make jewelry. I didn't make this necklace, but I have made lots of jewelry. And so that was something that I have done for myself, personally. So keep those in mind. I do encourage you to have a professional development plan. Let me know in the chats box if you do have a plan and if you've updated it recently, which is great. And then I did, again, share a few other links for you in the notes for this post. And that goes to the personal development plan tool that you can download, as well as my blog post number 5, which was on some of the myths around career development. So check those out to see how they could potentially help you. And I will be back tomorrow for more Connector Dots, where we'll talk more about leadership and more career development. And then Friday is actually Pharmovation Friday, and we'll be talking about the Get the Medicines Right blueprint for change. So that is a wonderful organization that's multidisciplinary, and I'm looking forward to reviewing the Get the Medicines Right blueprint with all of you. So thanks for joining the Connector Dots, and I look forward to talking to you again. Have a great night.